Thomas was the first to seize the Smith family's token, and I realized he had also been reborn. In our previous life, he despised the Smith family, saying that despite their wealth, their low status made them unworthy, and marrying into their family would be a disgrace.
It would be more fitting for a younger brother.
In this life, he still looked down on the Smith family but pretended to be humble.
Our family is struggling financially, and simply cutting expenses isn't enough. As the eldest son, I should help alleviate our burdens.
Margaret, who doted on him the most, was so shocked that she dropped her teacup.
My son is destined for greatness. How can he marry into a merchant family?
Thomas whispered something to Margaret, then glanced at me with determination. Margaret reluctantly agreed. 2 days later, I saw a royal decree with a portrait of me posted in the city. In our previous life, Thomas, who looked similar to me, became the royal consort. In this life, it was my turn to take that role. In the previous life, I had no choice. Our family's savings were depleted, and we desperately needed money, so I was married off to a merchant family. I was married away. 2 days later, a royal decree was posted in the city, stating that Princess Emily had seen a man by chance and couldn't stop thinking about him, losing her appetite in sleep.
I must find this man and make him my consort.
The portrait depicted a man with long eyebrows, fine eyes, and a small mole under his lip, clearly me. But Thomas claimed I was already engaged to the Smith family, making me ineligible for the princess, and suggested he take the prestigious role instead.
As I rise to power, my younger brother will also benefit.
So, he heated a silver needle and removed my mole, then tattooed a similar mole on his own face, took the royal decree, and married the princess. He paraded through the streets on a tall horse, charming and handsome, winning the princess's favor, while I was quietly sent to the Smith household in a small sedan chair. He, the eldest son, became the royal consort with a bright future, while I, the younger son, became a humble merchant's son-in-law. But no one expected that Princess Emily's mother would be imprisoned, accused of having powerful connections and colluding with foreign forces. Emperor William, enraged, ordered her execution, and within a day, the princess and her family were demoted to commoners and exiled. The Harrison family soldiers who didn't perish on the battlefield perished in prison. Thomas's dream of being a royal consort was shattered, and he became a prisoner avoided by all. He knelt outside the mansion for 3 days, begging for help.
Please, someone help me. I can't endure this anymore.
Margaret wept and pleaded with Father John to open the door.
John, please help our son.
Who dares defy the emperor's orders?
Father John, fearing implication, opened the door on the 4th day only to drive Thomas away. Parents love their children, but not enough to risk their lives. I heard that Thomas couldn't bear the hardship of exile and ended his life in the vast desert. The family wanted to quietly hold a funeral for Thomas and sent someone to summon me back. As I left the Smith household, I saw a ragged, disheveled beggar outside the door. Feeling pity, I asked someone to bring him some pastries. Unexpectedly, the beggar leaped up and stabbed me in the chest with a dagger. He pushed back his hair to reveal a sinister smile. It was Thomas.
Why? I am the noble eldest son, the esteemed royal consort. Why do you, a lowly younger son, live better than me? I can't accept this.
Thomas's face was splattered with my blood, and he drooled at the mouth, looking deranged. He had truly gone mad. So, upon realizing he had been reborn, he eagerly sought to marry into the Smith family. He didn't know that being a son-in-law to the Smith family was no easier than being a royal consort. Unexpectedly, the beggar leaped up and stabbed me in the chest with a dagger.
Shouting, "What?"
He pushed back his hair to reveal a sinister smile. It was Thomas.
Why? I am the noble eldest son, the esteemed royal consort.
Groaning, Thomas, why?
Why do you, a lowly younger son, live better than me? I can't accept this.
Thomas's face was splattered with my blood, and he drooled at the mouth, looking deranged. He had truly gone mad. So, upon realizing he had been reborn, he eagerly sought to marry into the Smith family. He didn't know that being a son-in-law to the Smith family was no easier than being a royal consort. Thomas arrived at the consort's residence, acting as if he were the master of the house. He pointed at my tea set with disdain.
Such a grand consort's residence, yet equipped with such simple tea sets.
He took a sip of tea, savoring the taste with narrowed eyes.
The tea set may be lacking, but the tea is excellent. Just like your legitimate brother, who, despite marrying into a merchant family like the Smiths, still maintains noble character.
He looked me up and down in my crimson brocade robe and sneered.
This robe is nice, it covers up your poor appearance well. But remember, this robe is easy to wear and easy to take off, so you better keep it on tight.
Mr. Thomas, watch your words. The consort of the reigning dynasty is not someone you can criticize.
Thomas fell silent, glaring at me with resentment. We sat quietly, finishing our tea. Then he began to boast again.
Brother, you don't know how beautiful your sister-in-law is, and how obedient she is to me. My father-in-law dotes on me and has even entrusted me with the Smith family's business.
He sat next to me and whispered so only the two of us could hear.
Especially, your sister-in-law clings to me every day, and we are very happy as a couple.
I nodded, remembering how my father-in-law had said the same thing to me in my previous life. But I glanced at him sideways, not intending to shatter his current blissful expectations. After all, this was the life he had chosen for himself. I escorted Thomas out of the residence and caught a glimpse of a brown figure in the distant bamboo grove. Watching his carriage disappear into the distance, I smiled and turned back inside. In the following 2 months, I immersed myself in studying medicine and military strategy. Princess Emily, seeing my interest in military tactics and martial arts, was delighted and insisted on teaching me martial arts in the courtyard every afternoon under the scorching sun. We both became increasingly tanned, but she was not troubled by it.
A martial artist must endure hardships, and darker skin helps conceal one's presence during military campaigns.
That fateful day finally arrived. Thunder roared, and lightning tore through the night sky, illuminating it like daylight. The old pear tree in Sophia's courtyard was struck by lightning, its roots severed, and its trunk charred black. The imperial astrologer declared it an ominous sign. Emperor William was furious, and the once favored concubine was relegated to the cold palace overnight. Not long after, someone in the court suggested that the Harrison family, holding military power, was too dominant and might pose a threat to the heir's succession. Rumors also spread that Prince Alexander had close ties with foreign nations. But the rumors died down after a few days because Prince Alexander, representing General Harrison, volunteered to lead the troops to the border, promising to hand over the military seal upon his triumphant return. This move caused an uproar in the court. The court officials all admired the Harrison family's loyalty to the country and Prince Alexander's wisdom and bravery. Even many officials who previously supported the idea of establishing the legitimate eldest son now favored Prince Alexander. I was also preparing to follow Prince Alexander north to guard the border. Before departure, Princess Emily, with a worried expression, held my hand and asked,
Consort, have you dreamt of a smooth journey?
She was treating me like a seer. I shook my head.
Whether it goes smoothly or not, we have to experience it ourselves to know.
Can I accompany you on this journey?
I interrupted her, wiped away her tears, and kissed her nose.
Don't worry, Princess. I will return safely.
The day after the old pear tree in Sophia's courtyard was split, I went to see General Harrison and Prince Alexander. The princess treated me sincerely, and I reciprocated her feelings. I also genuinely admired the soldiers who sacrificed their lives to protect our homeland. I couldn't bear to see them fight bravely on the battlefield, only to become casualties of court intrigues upon their hard-won return.
But if something happens to you, how will I explain it to Luna?
General, I am an illegitimate child. My mother passed away when I was young. A child without a mother is looked down upon at home. Fortunately, the princess favored me, and I became the consort. She treats me sincerely, Prince Alexander treats me like a younger brother, and you have been very kind to me.
The seasoned general, who had seen countless deaths on the battlefield, now had moist eyes.
Good child, with you as Luna's consort, I am at ease.
I admire you and the soldiers of the Harrison army. This expedition will ensure their wives receive their husbands and fathers, and the elderly won't have to bury their young.
General Harrison remained silent for a long time, then helped me up and shook my hand firmly. I returned the grip with equal strength. Everything was understood without words. The Harrison army's banners fluttered all the way to the northern frontier. The journey was long, and everyone rode swiftly. By the time we reached the battlefront, half a month had passed. I didn't know if the princess had received the letters I sent, as there had been no reply for over half a month. Every day, I discussed and analyzed tactics with Prince Alexander until late at night, so I would fall asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow. It was already midnight when I returned to my tent and saw a shadow moving stealthily. Alarm bells rang in my mind, fearing it was an enemy spy. I intended to sneak up on them, but accidentally stepped on a stone, making a noise. The spy turned and ran upon hearing the sound. I used the stone-throwing technique taught by the princess, picked up a stone, and aimed at the back of their knee. The person fell to the ground with a cry. Just as I was about to capture them, I heard a familiar voice.
Spare me, consort.
Princess, why are you here?
The princess giggled, avoiding my gaze, praised my intelligence and talent, and complained about how late I returned to sleep every night. Under my stern gaze, she stammered out the truth.
I wanted to make sure you're safe every night.
Reckless.
I was outwardly angry but deeply concerned, carefully checking her for injuries after removing her armor. Knowing that Prince Alexander was aware of her presence and had assigned people to look after her, I felt somewhat relieved. Unexpectedly, the beggar leaped up and stabbed me in the chest with a dagger. He pushed back his hair to reveal a sinister smile. It was Thomas.
Why? I am the noble eldest son, the esteemed royal consort. Why do you, a lowly younger son, live better than me? I can't accept this.
Thomas's face was splattered with my blood, and he drooled at the mouth, looking deranged. He had truly gone mad. So, upon realizing he had been given a second chance, he eagerly sought to marry into the Smith family. He didn't know that being a son-in-law to the Smith family was no easier than being a royal consort. We had a traitor among us. All the tokens proving our identities, mine and Prince Alexander's, were lost. The local magistrate ordered us to be thrown into prison, accusing us of impersonating court officials and the prince, sentencing us to be executed in the autumn. Overnight, Prince Alexander and I became prisoners, helpless in the damp and dark dungeon. 2 days later, Princess Emily appeared in Liangwang City and rescued us. She held her head high, her hair dancing in the sunlight, exuding a heroic spirit.
Son-in-law, what would you do without me?
I reached out to her with a smile. Yes, princess, you arrived just in time to save my life. From now on, I will follow your lead, as a devoted husband. Prince Alexander stepped out of the shadows, looking disdainfully at the magistrate, who was now subdued on the ground, and uttered a single word.
Scoundrel.
The subsequent progress was smoother than we had anticipated. Starting from the granary, we pulled on a thread, and soon the entire intricate web unraveled. Thomas was captured as soon as he entered Liangwang City and brought before Prince Alexander. He trembled like a defeated rooster, devoid of his usual arrogance, repeatedly muttering.
I know nothing!
He wasn't lying, he was merely a scapegoat, bound and skinned. The investigation took half a month, resulting in the arrest of over 20 corrupt officials and merchants. At the same time, we distributed grain to relieve the disaster and repaired damaged houses, earning the praise of the people. The colluding officials and merchants were paraded through the streets for 3 days, during which the citizens threw rotten vegetables and spat at them. Thomas led the procession, his hair filthy, his face smeared with rotten vegetables and dried juice, resembling the beggar he once was. Hidden in the crowd, I spat at him as he turned his head. He glared at me with hatred.
Don't get too complacent, half-brother. The outcome is not yet decided.
Really? Does the distinction between legitimate and illegitimate children forever determine victory and defeat? I don't believe it. If that's the rule, then I will defy it.
With the disaster resolved and the involved officials escorted back to the capital, the Smith family was let off lightly. It seemed they had found a powerful backer. Compared to the desperate refugees we encountered on our way here, there were fewer on the return journey, though some stragglers remained. I rode at the front when suddenly a young boy appeared in my path, kneeling and forcing me to stop. He held an unconscious little girl in his arms, tears streaming down his face as he pleaded.
Please, noble sir, save my sister.
The sudden halt of the convoy prompted Princess Emily to poke her head out of the carriage. Seeing the kneeling boy and the unconscious girl, she immediately understood and jumped out of the carriage. I dismounted and examined the girl. Her face was flushed with fever, her delicate features twisted in pain, and her damp hair clung messily to her forehead. It was likely a fever, and she urgently needed to be cooled down. Although we were nobles, we had not brought a physician on this trip. Princess Emily thought for a moment, then ordered her maid to fetch a garment, which she tore into strips with a sword. The maid soaked the strips in water and applied them to the girl's forehead. After a while, the girl's temperature seemed to drop, and she slowly woke up, immediately reaching for her brother. The boy hugged his sister tightly, bowing repeatedly in gratitude.
Noble lady, you ruined your fine clothes to save my sister. I have nothing to repay you with.
I helped him up. Clothes are just material possessions, a life is more important.
Don't worry about it. Your bravery in stopping the convoy to save your sister is touching.
The boy bowed deeply several times, the gravel on the road cutting his forehead and drawing a trickle of blood mixed with dirt. He then left with the medicine we gave him for his sister. Their deep sibling bond moved everyone present. I noticed Princess Emily's eyes reddening, her eyelashes trembling, reminding me of stories from a past life.
Unexpectedly, the beggar leaped up and struck me in the chest with a dagger.
Thomas! Why?
He pushed back his hair to reveal a sinister smile. It was Thomas.
Why? I am the noble eldest son, the esteemed royal consort.
Thomas, please.
Why do you, a lowly younger son, live better than me? I can't accept this.
Thomas's face was splattered with my blood, and he drooled at the mouth, looking deranged. He had truly lost his mind.
5 days later, our family held a banquet to celebrate the good news of Thomas and Christine. During the banquet, Thomas and Christine were inseparable, constantly showing their affection as if afraid others wouldn't know they were deeply in love. Margaret couldn't stop smiling, holding Christine's hand and sharing many intimate words.
I recently went to the temple to ask the abbot to bless the child. I can't wait to touch my grandchild through Christine's belly.
Mother, this child will take my surname, Smith.
Margaret's hand, which was about to touch Christine's belly, froze in midair. Her face turned sour.
Christine, what did you say?
I said, this child will take the surname Smith.
But Thomas is the legitimate son. How can his child not take his surname?
Mother, it's fine. Christine and I have agreed that the second child will take my surname.
Christine rolled her eyes at him and was about to say more when Thomas, using the excuse of needing fresh air, coaxed her outside.
I looked around, remembering that a familiar face was missing from the gathering. But I didn't expect that person to be so bold, or rather, that the two of them would be so reckless as to cause a scene right under everyone's noses at the Thomas family banquet. A servant came to report that Christine had fallen into the water, his face pale and trembling. Thomas smashed his teacup. When we reached the shore, we saw a pair of drenched lovers huddled together, shivering. One of them was Christine, and the other was a servant of the Thomas household, David. David lived up to his name. His wet clothes clung to his muscular frame, revealing his strong, sturdy arms. Christine, nestled in his embrace, looked particularly delicate and dependent.
How dare you? How dare you?
Then, as if remembering something, he crawled towards me, shouting,
Daniel, you did this on purpose?
Before he could finish, my attendants dragged him away. But he continued to flail and shout.
I haven't lost yet.
Sophia was imprisoned. It was because of a pear tree struck by lightning. When the groundskeepers were clearing the dead tree, they found it hollow, with a charred wooden figure hidden inside. On the day the wooden figure was discovered, Emperor William coughed up blood in the hall and fell gravely ill. Practicing witchcraft in the palace was a capital offense, and involving the emperor made it even more severe. As a high-ranking consort, Sophia was immediately arrested and interrogated. When Princess Emily learned of this, she sought an audience with the emperor, but was turned away with the excuse that the emperor was too ill to see anyone. With no crown prince established and the emperor bedridden, the undercurrents had turned into overt turbulence. Rumors about the crown prince swirled in the palace, and the ministers who initially supported Prince Alexander began to switch their allegiance to Prince Edward due to the scandal involving Sophia and witchcraft.
Consort, what should we do? I went to see my brother, but he refused to see me. Could it be true, as others say, that he wants to distance himself from our mother to vie for the throne?
I quickly covered her mouth.
Princess, please calm down. Do not speak such words again. Your second brother shares the same bloodline as you. You know his character better than anyone. Why belittle him like this?
But I am truly worried about Mother. Now I can't see her or father, and even my brother has shut his doors to me.
She choked up as she spoke. I embraced her, hoping my arms could provide her some comfort.
This matter is within our control.
What do you mean, consort?
I kissed away her tears and simply said,
The princess will know soon enough.
The source of the witchcraft in Sophia's palace remained elusive, delaying the case for half a month. Rumors about witchcraft grew more rampant in the city. Tonight, the sky was as dark as ink, with the moon hiding behind thick clouds. A lunar eclipse was not a good omen. The imperial city was eerily quiet, with even the lights extinguished early. A storm was brewing, but only one place was bustling with activity. Outside the Hall of Mental Cultivation, numerous imperial physicians knelt in prayer, their chants of "Long live the Emperor" echoing continuously. Prince Edward suddenly barged in.
What is my father's condition? I dare not speculate.
Prince Edward released Dr. Lee's collar and hurried towards the hall, only to be stopped by the imperial guards at the door.
I am the prince. Who dares to stop me?
Prince Edward entered the hall, just in time to encounter the chief eunuch, Eunuch Wang, who was rushing out.
Your Highness, His Majesty.
Before he could finish, Prince Edward snatched the Edict of Succession from his hands. He arrogantly unrolled it, only to find that the name of the successor was his younger brother, Henry.
Rewrite the Edict of Succession.
Your Highness, heed my advice. Leave the Hall of Mental Cultivation now, and there may still be a way out.
Prince Edward seemed to hear the most ridiculous joke in the world. He laughed maniacally and pressed the sword harder, drawing blood from Eunuch Wang's neck. The sound of footsteps echoed around the Hall of Mental Cultivation, then fell silent again.
I order you to rewrite the Edict of Succession.
A booming voice responded from behind him.
Who do you think you were to give orders?
The Emperor emerged from the inner hall, causing Prince Edward to drop his sword in shock. As he bent to retrieve it, Eunuch Wang kicked his knee, making him stumble and kneel. The Emperor towered above him. Prince Edward blew the whistle hanging around his neck, summoning the soldiers he had stationed outside the Hall of Mental Cultivation. The whistle's sound was long, but no one responded.
Edward, How could you be so obstinate?
The guards outside the hall rushed in, surrounding Prince Edward. He realized he was utterly defeated. The emperor looked at him deeply and sighed, a sigh of a father to his son, a ruler to his subject. The crown prince usurped the throne, was demoted to a commoner, and exiled along with his followers. Thomas was also imprisoned. After returning from the southern provinces, I knew he had aligned himself with the crown prince.
The Smith family, wealthy beyond measure, had long been dissatisfied with their lowly status as merchants and extended their influence into local power, even reaching the court. Prince Alexander, intelligent and outstanding, was backed by the Harrison family, making the crown prince wary for a long time.
From the moment the imperial astronomer predicted for Sophia, the crown prince and the empress had been scheming step by step to ensure the position of the heir would not be handed over. I initially sought a fake death pill, planning to use it to save Sophia if Emperor William decreed her death as in the previous life. But as events unfolded, things went more smoothly than I had imagined.
Upon discovering Thomas's alliance with the crown prince, I decided to take a gamble on the loyalty between sovereign and subject, father and son.
When the charred wooden figure was found among the pear trees, the imperial astronomer predicted again, a lunar eclipse, the emperor's star wavering. Emperor William feigned illness, pretending to be cursed, and the empire seemed to decline. A fake death pill tested two true hearts. 2 days before Thomas's exile, I went to visit him. He was crouched in a corner, disheveled and emaciated beyond recognition.
Despite stopping the problematic supplements after my warning, the poison had already seeped into his bones, beyond any cure. He might not even survive the 3rd day of exile.
Thomas's once vacant eyes focused when he saw me. He bared his yellow teeth, gums blackened, and weakly shouted,
Impossible! Impossible! How could I lose to you in both lives? Why? I can't accept this. I want to choose again.
But as he lunged at me, my attendant easily pushed him to the ground.
Dear brother, did you know? I never cared about winning or losing with you.
He laughed maniacally on the ground, then asked me,
Where exactly did I lose?
I didn't answer and left. In the previous life, everyone envied my smooth career, my wealthy in-laws, and my beautiful wife. But they didn't know the Smith family was a den of wolves and tigers.
On our wedding night, Christine bluntly told me I was just a son-in-law and had to obey her in everything. She disliked my frail body, saying her father's old friend was a renowned doctor and insisted I take supplements daily to strengthen myself before we could consummate our marriage. But the supplements only made me weaker, to the point where I needed help just to walk a few steps, let alone anything else.
After returning from the southern provinces, Christine and I drank together until I lost my memory. When I woke, she lay beside me, shyly praising my newfound vigor from the supplements, saying I had exhausted her. On the day Christine died, David held her, crying. She touched his face to wipe away his tears, but her eyes were on me, saying,
I'm sorry.
What could I blame her for? For not loving me yet marrying me? As a man, I couldn't even control my own marriage. How could she, a woman, escape her family's cage alone? Or for being deceived by her family, believing the supplements were real? For carrying a child that wasn't mine, yet still putting on a show for me? In every detail, she was just like me, a stepping stone on the Smith family's path to prosperity. When Thomas killed me, I was already terminally poisoned. After my death, all the Smith family's deaths could be blamed on me. That was the purpose of my marriage into the Smith family in the previous life. Thomas's question wasn't hard to answer. He enjoyed the privileges of a legitimate son but still felt it wasn't enough, always needing to overshadow others with his status. But winning or losing never depended on legitimacy.
I remembered the year my birth mother passed away. Everyone in the household suddenly became cold towards me, and the food served was half as good as before. At the family banquet, I hadn't tasted such delicious food in a long time, so I couldn't help but eat until I was full. When I was about to vomit from overeating, Thomas stopped me, imitating our tutor's tone.
Daniel, greed is not a virtue.
As I stepped out of the dark prison, I saw Princess Emily waiting for me in the sunlight. She reached out to me from her horse, her head crowned by a halo of sunlight, smiling brightly.
Consort, what are you staring at?
I'm looking at the blazing sun.